Hello, everyone. MAPIC India is back with its Retail Leadership Series with Women Special during the International Women's Day week. We women would be fibbing if we didn't admit we enjoy having our hands full. We like getting stuff done and balancing many things at once in the name of achievement. In fact, we thrive on it. Today, we have with us a perfect example of this, the banker turned mompreneur Malika Sadani, founder and CEO of Moms Co, which aims to provide toxin free products catering to babies, new mothers, and expectant. Welcome, Malika. We are glad to have you as our guest today.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Great. Malika, you are a category builder and pioneer in the space in a short span of time. First of all, we want to know what prompted you to start and what were the initial challenges you faced as a woman entrepreneur.
So, to start off with, I think I started the company because of a very personal struggle. I've got two daughters. And when I moved back from London to India, I just realized that there is a lot of dearth of good quality natural products that were also toxin free. Both my daughters had skin conditions, which meant I had to use allergen-free, fragrance-free products, and I just couldn't find them. And I was really surprised to know that the baby and mom such a big category, but there was no brand that was catering to their needs, and that's how we decided to start the Moms Co. With an intention to be a mom's trusting partner in her journey to motherhood, and that's what we did. And to answer your second part of your question on what were my initial struggles, I think the struggles were very large. It extended in multiple forays, not just one, right? So it was whether it was about manufacturing and speaking with the manufacturers and getting them to sign up and do what I wanted them to do. They would always doubt it, saying that, are you here to build some business, or is it just a hobby that you're kind of taking up, right? Or was it to do with the fact that when I was trying to hire people and people were like, do you have a co-founder who's male or anything, right? So I think from hiring to getting suppliers on board to just sort of setting it up, there was a lot of challenge initially. But I think that one thing that kind of worked for me, and which I hope others also, it works for everybody else, is the fact that I never let that put me down, right? So I always kept showing up. And the power of showing up is just so immense, because every time I would show up, they would get a little bit more convinced that I'm probably more serious about it, right? And then the narrative changed from a woman trying to build something to a woman who leaves two children back in Gurgaon, and I would travel all the way to Noida every single day because that was where the plant was, right? And then they were like, okay, she leaves two small children and travels so many kilometers every day. So I'm sure she's up to something. Let's bet on her, right? So I think it was the power of showing up that converted everybody to do what I wanted them to do.
Great. What's your vision or hope for women in the business?
I really hope women start sort of expressing themselves more and asking for a lot more, right? Like, I think women just undercut themselves quite largely. I've had these review conversations with a male counterpart and a female counterpart, and there's so much difference in which they portray themselves, right? A man achieves X and kind of portrays it as 2X or 5X. A woman does X and portrays it as half of what she's actually done, right? So I think women need to learn the fact that they're doing a great job, right? And not be sort of held back because of all the demands that they have outside of work, right? Like we always tell people, saying that women have a lot of responsibility outside of work as well, right? Let that not be a cause to hold you back from accepting what great work you're doing at work, right? So just portray it, tell people, ask for what you truly deserve. And I think that's the change that women need to bring amongst themselves.
Great. Awesome. And how do you encourage others in your organization to communicate on the core values? And how do you support women to live empowered lives?
So we had a very large women workforce just by the nature of what we were doing, right? And I don't know what it is that empowered them, because I had a very strong panel of women, right, in the office. It was whether someone who had had a bad marriage, broken marriage, and built a life of her own, or what is it, a woman who faced a very hardship with her mother and without a father actually made sure that her mother's cancer treatment got done, right? So, we had a lot of these strong women. And I think the work that we did was to portray and have these conversations and tell the others about these conversations to inspire them, because one woman's story gets 10 others in the foray to kind of do something more different, right? So it's all about the power of sharing super powerful stories, right? And I think once those get shared is when people start figuring out and working out, saying that, okay, it's possible for me too, because she's done it. So I'm sure I can also do it, right?
Yeah.
And we had some brilliant cases of certain people who joined us as, business associates for the retail industry. They joined us as all BAs. And from the BAs grew up to managing and leading customer care on a group level. Right. And this was
Wow.
a journey that she took all the way from being a sales girl on a store to becoming a retail channel partner to doing something and then heading customer care and then going on and heading something, on a very large scale. So I think that this power of these stories, and when people say that, it can happen and lives can change, all you need to do is just keep working hard. I think those become paramount in getting people to do more and, sort of want more from yourself, right? It's all about what's your passion, what you desire to do, and what are your goals in life. A lot of times when I speak to few women in the organization, I ask them, what is it that you want to do? They honestly don't know what they want to do, which is why, their aspirations are also much lesser. But when you share these stories of where someone has grown from to, they are the people that empower people to say, okay, let us also learn to dream big. And I think the moment they learn to dream big, they get empowered by themselves, because by the nature of who they are, we are super multitaskers. Yeah, we can do a lot of work and get a lot of stuff done in a very short period of time.
I want to talk about sustainability. I mean, it's a keyword now, and sustainability is now on the top of mind for beauty and personal care brands. And especially during the COVID time, within the past 18 months, we have seen an industry-wide push towards developing more sustainable packaging and sourcing more eco-friendly ingredients. What's your definition of sustainability and how you include sustainability in your products?
You very rightly said, right? Like when people realize that nature can hit back and create chaos in our own lives is also when women and men woke up to say, that we need to do something to solve for it, because, probably we would still get air to breathe, but I don't know what air we're going to leave behind for our kids to breathe, right? So it's more saying, what is it that we're leaving behind for our own children and generations to come forward? So it became very crucial to start having conversations on sustainability. And I think for me, if you personally ask me, sustainability is about all those little things that you do in your life to make sure that you're making a difference to the environment and to the nature, right? That you're figuring out your way to reduce the strain that you can cause on the environment. So very simple things, even if it is just as simple as segregating waste in your home, right? It will go a long way by itself.
True.
It's all about those little efforts that you put in, but consistent efforts that you put in that will take us to a very long distance, and it's very interesting. I often tell this to people that for me, the most interesting thing is to say that we may have done whatever we have done in our past, but the generation and the next generation, when I see my daughters, they are very particular about sustainability. They will pick up a piece of paper and they will reuse it at behind. Then, with the same piece of paper, she'll create an artwork out of it, because all they have been taught about is how to keep reducing, reusing, and then recycling what they have to, right? So there are the three mantras by which they're living. So I'm really hopeful that these little changes that each one of us can bring in our lifetime sort of makes to a sustainable future for us. What we do is that in our packaging, most of the packaging at the Momsco is recyclable. So we try and not use stuff which cannot be recycled. Most of our shipments happen in paper packages. We don't use plastic in terms of shipping. There's very little plastic that's used only to seal the product, and that's about it. But otherwise, all the wrapping of products happens in mesh and paper. So it doesn't really happen otherwise, right? So we do all these efforts. Plus, we'd also tied up with this company called, Plastic Neutral, to go plastic neutral with this company called Recycle Global. So they would help us in our sustainability efforts at the company as well.
Nice.
And of course, at the company, we don't do any printed paper unless like really, really necessary, which needs to go on stamp paper. So most of the communication is online and people refrain from using paper.
Great. As innovation is a twist to constant, where do you extract inspiration from, Malika? And what plans do you deploy for consistent growth?
For me, I think innovation comes from the little everyday experiences that everybody has, right? So what we do in our organization is that we have these moments where we collectively come together and we tell people that this is what I want to do, just throw ideas, right? And people will randomly give their own set of ideas. And that ideas will stem everybody from the senior most person in the organization to the junior most person in the organization. And, through seeing their own individual perspective. So I remember when we first incorporated this, Reema, there was a lot of resistance because the junior folks wouldn't want to have a conversation. The shy ones wouldn't want to tell their point of view because what if it gets rejected, right? And then we changed the construct of it all to say that it is not rejecting or accepting an idea, but it's all about listing down those ideas. And we would list every idea that would come. And from there, collectively choose 3 points that we want to really focus on for the month, right? And to build on those ideas. It did 2 things for us. Collectively, when everybody came together and everybody gave their own points of view, everybody comes from a very different background. Everybody comes from a very different set of experiences. And when they all come together to share from their own experiences, how they view things, is where you drive your innovation from, right? Because they will give you those ideas which will become products of the future or marketing campaign of the future or a chat that you want to do or a property that you want to build. So I think it's just about being able to constantly listen to everyone around and absorb the information and then articulate those thoughts into a formal structure where it can translate into something really big.
Great. Very interesting, Malika. Okay, last but very important thing, one leadership quality that is indispensable for success, according to you, that, a kind of message that you want to give all the women out there in the industry.
I'll actually say there are 2 things, not one. So first is empathy. It's very important for a leader to be able to empathize with everybody that you have, right? If you want to build a large, sustainable company. And I'll tell you the reason why it's important, right? Especially if you're running a startup, because, in startup, we don't have the concept of work-life balance, right? It's more of a work-life integration where everybody is working almost most of the time. If there's a big campaign to go live, everybody will be out there, right? But it's all about having fun at work. It's all about saying that, even if I have the most crucial thing happening, but if you have a personal emergency, I will not make that phone call to you. I will give you your time to sort of sort that out before you come back to work, right? So empathy becomes really important because you will interact with people across various, from junior resources to senior resources to super senior people, right? So I think one very important quality is empathy. The second is your ability to articulate what you're building and what are the goals for the organization, because with so many people coming on board, somebody needs to lay down very clearly saying these are our goals, and collectively everybody is going to focus on these 3 goals, right? And that's when the whole set of people come together to aim towards something which is singular. If you can't lay out this, then everybody will be chasing their own goals and their own aspirations, right? And that's not how a large company can reach a common goal. So I think there's 2 very important things. One, the ability to articulate one common goal, which is very important for the company. And second is very strong empathy.
Great. Amazing. Malika, thank you so much for taking out time. And it was really a pleasure talking to you. And thanks for sharing such great insights.
Thank you for having me.
All the best for everything, that you are coming up with. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. See you. Bye.